Have you ever wondered if something as simple as sleep could shape your destiny? In our fast-paced world, sleep is often treated as a necessary pause or even a luxury. But what if it's actually a gateway to deeper transformation? From a Buddhist perspective, rest isn't just about recovery. It's a karmic process that mirrors the state of our mind and the quality of our actions. How we sleep, and more importantly, how we relate to sleep, can influence the unfolding of our karma in ways we rarely consider. Can sleeping with awareness become a step toward enlightenment? Before we dive deeper into this fascinating perspective, make sure to subscribe to Daily Buddhism Wisdom, your space for meaningful spiritual reflections, ancient wisdom, and practical tools for inner peace. Each video helps you connect Buddhist teachings to your everyday life, one mindful step at a time. If you're on a journey to understand karma, mindfulness, and the true nature of suffering and liberation, you're in the right place. Tap the subscribe button and join our growing sangha of spiritual seekers around the world. In Buddhism, karma refers to intentional actions of body, speech, and mind that create future results. It's not fate or punishment, but a natural law of cause and effect. While sleep might appear passive or neutral, Buddhism sees it through a more nuanced lens. Sleep, like any aspect of our daily routine, is not separate from our path to awakening. The quality of our rest, the thoughts we carry into sleep, and the habits we form around bedtime are all karmically potent. How we approach rest, our intentions, habits, and mindfulness around it, can generate consequences that either support or hinder our spiritual development. Resting with awareness can cultivate clarity and compassion. But when we sleep with a mind full of agitation, avoidance, or apathy, we unknowingly reinforce patterns that lead to confusion and delusion. The Buddha emphasized balance in all things, including rest, because it directly affects our capacity to walk the middle way. The middle way, one of the Buddha's core teachings, guides us to avoid the extremes of indulgence and self-mortification. It is a path of balance, wisdom, and mindfulness, encouraging a lifestyle that neither clings to sensual pleasures nor falls into harsh austerity. This principle applies not just to food, wealth, or sensual desire, but also to something as basic and essential as sleep. In the Vinaya Pitaka, the code of discipline for monastics, the Buddha instructs monks to guard against the two extremes of sleep: oversleeping, which leads to mental sluggishness, and excessive deprivation, which leads to agitation and fatigue. These instructions are not mere behavioral rules. They reflect a deep understanding of the mind's need for balance in order to awaken. And while these teachings were initially directed at monks and nuns, they contain a universal truth for all spiritual seekers. Sleep is necessary for physical renewal and mental clarity. When we rest well, we awaken with a calm mind, ready for meditation, compassion, and insight. But when we become attached to the comfort of sleep, hitting snooze repeatedly, indulging in long naps out of boredom, or using sleep to escape reality, we enter a cycle of dullness and avoidance. This craving for comfort is just another expression of tanha, the thirst that leads to suffering. On the flip side, some of us may pride ourselves on sleeping less in the name of ambition or productivity, yet unknowingly cultivate restlessness and mental fatigue that sabotage deeper awareness. In Buddhism, the mind is the field where karma is planted, and sleep, as a recurring part of our daily lives, becomes fertile ground for that planting. The attitude we hold toward rest, whether it's one of mindfulness and respect, or one of avoidance and indulgence, shapes our inner world. If we approach sleep with mindfulness, allowing the body to rest without clinging to it, we are aligning ourselves with the Dharma. Our sleep becomes a mirror that reflects our inner tendencies, whether they be craving, laziness, awareness, or equanimity. By applying the middle way to our relationship with sleep, we train the mind to let go of extremes. We cultivate discipline without self-punishment, and ease without escapism. In doing so, even something as simple as how we rest at night becomes an act of spiritual practice, a chance to generate wholesome karma and nourish the path to awakening. Sleep, when engaged with right intention, transforms from a mundane biological necessity into a sacred and karmically potent act. In Buddhism, intention, sadhana, is at the heart of karma. What we intend, even more than what we physically do, shapes our future experience. This means that even the simple act of lying down to sleep is not karmically neutral. It is an opportunity to cultivate awareness, compassion, and wisdom. When approached with mindfulness, sleep becomes part of the spiritual path rather than an escape from it. The Satipatthana Sutta, one of the Buddha's most foundational discourses on mindfulness, encourages continuous awareness in all four postures: walking, standing, sitting, and lying down. This guidance reveals that mindfulness is not confined to formal meditation, but can be infused into every moment, including the transition into sleep. Lying down mindfully, observing the sensations of the body and the movements of the breath, becomes a practice in itself. It's a moment where the mind is quieting, the body is still, and we have a rare opportunity to release the day's agitation with conscious grace. When we fall asleep while cultivating metta, loving kindness, or reflecting on the Dharma, we plant the seeds of wholesome consciousness in the fertile soil of the subconscious. The thoughts and emotional tones we carry into sleep can influence our dreams, our rest, and even our tendencies upon waking. According to Buddhist cosmology, the state of mind at the moment of death plays a significant role in determining the conditions of one's rebirth. In a symbolic sense, each night is like a small death, and each awakening is a kind of rebirth. If we train ourselves to fall asleep with peaceful, compassionate, or reflective thoughts, we prepare the mind for both nightly rest and, eventually, for death itself. Practices such as silently repeating phrases of loving kindness, "May all beings be happy, may I be at peace," or mentally visualizing the Buddha before sleep are not just devotional acts, they are deep karmic conditioning. These bedtime reflections help rewire our mental patterns and open our hearts. In time, this sacred approach to sleep fosters a gentler, more stable mind. Instead of collapsing into sleep unconsciously, we enter it with grace and intention. In doing so, even the act of falling asleep becomes a step toward liberation, an act of awakening in disguise. In the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, sleep is often described as a mini-death, a daily dissolution of the waking self that offers a profound opportunity for spiritual practice. Just as death leads us into the bardo, the intermediate state between one life and the next, sleep leads us into a kind of temporary bardo each night. In both states, the ordinary sense of identity fades, the body becomes inactive, and the mind becomes unmoored from the physical world. This striking parallel is not merely poetic. It is a reminder that how we sleep, dream, and awaken reflects how we will meet death, transition, and rebirth. In Tibetan Buddhism, preparing for death is a central spiritual task, and sleep becomes one of the most accessible and potent training grounds. The mind that enters sleep is the same mind that will eventually enter the bardo. Therefore, training the mind during the day, cultivating mindfulness, compassion, and clarity, directly affects the quality of our sleep and the content of our dreams. Tibetan teachers emphasize that daytime awareness lays the foundation for nighttime lucidity. If we move through the day in a fog of distraction, our dreams will mirror that confusion. But if we practice mindfulness, ethical conduct, and intention, those qualities carry into sleep, influencing the mind's journey through the dream world and beyond. One powerful practice arising from this understanding is milam, or dream yoga. Rooted in Vajrayana Buddhism, dream yoga teaches practitioners to remain aware even during dreams, recognizing the dream state as impermanent and illusory. By doing so, one can transform dreams into a laboratory for spiritual awakening, practicing compassion, confronting fears, and even receiving teachings in the dream state. The goal is not entertainment, but liberation. Just as we seek to awaken in life from the delusions of ego and grasping, dream yoga seeks to awaken within the dream, seeing its fleeting nature and using it to deepen realization. Sleep meditation and dream yoga thus reinforce a core Buddhist truth. There is no moment devoid of karma or spiritual potential. Sleep is not a blank space to escape into. It is a continuation of karmic unfolding, shaped by our habits, intentions, and awareness. In this light, every night becomes a sacred threshold. By transforming sleep into practice, we not only improve our rest but prepare the mind for death, rebirth, and ultimately, awakening. The Dhammapada, one of the most beloved collections of the Buddha's sayings, offers a powerful verse: "The mindful never sleep." At first glance, this statement may sound extreme, even unrealistic. Does it mean that enlightened beings never rest? Are we meant to stay awake all night in meditation? In truth, this phrase is not a rejection of sleep, but a poetic affirmation of deep awareness. It points to a state of continuous mindfulness that transcends physical states of waking or sleeping. The Buddha is emphasizing not the physical act of sleeping, but the slumber of ignorance, the dullness of an unawakened mind. A truly mindful person brings awareness into all activities, including sleep. Their consciousness, trained in meditation and compassion, carries a brightness that isn't dimmed by rest. In this light, sleep becomes another frontier of practice. When mindfulness has become second nature through consistent training, it doesn't disappear when we close our eyes. Instead, it softens into a gentle presence that even dreams cannot disrupt. A person who cultivates awareness, ethical conduct, and loving kindness during the day naturally infuses these qualities into the subconscious mind at night. Sleep then becomes restorative not just for the body, but also for the spirit, because it is informed by wholesome mental states. This is where Buddhist meditation plays a transformative role. Meditation sharpens awareness and gradually weakens the 5 hindrances, mental obstacles that block insight and concentration. These hindrances are sensual desire, ill will, sloth and torpor, restlessness and remorse, and doubt. Among them, sloth and torpor are especially linked to unbalanced or excessive sleep. They represent a heaviness of body and dullness of mind that can spill into both meditation and daily life. When we overindulge in sleep or use it as an escape, we feed these hindrances. The mind becomes sluggish, awareness fades, and insight becomes clouded. But by observing our sleep habits with wisdom, we can break this cycle. Right sleep is not about how many hours we rest, but with what intention, clarity, and balance we do so. When we begin to see that oversleeping can promote inertia just as undersleeping can cause agitation, we begin to walk the middle way. By gently reducing the hindrance of torpor, the mind grows more alert and present, even in rest. This is what it means to truly never sleep, to stay inwardly awake, even when the body lies down to rest. In Buddhist psychology, sleep is understood as more than just a biological function. It is also a reflection of our mental habits, emotional tendencies, and karmic conditioning. The Abhidhamma, the Buddhist analysis of mind, describes how each moment of consciousness arises with particular mental factors. These factors, whether wholesome, unwholesome, or neutral, condition our experiences in both waking life and in the dream state. This means that the quality of our mind just before sleep plays a significant role in shaping the mental landscape we enter during rest. If we fall asleep overwhelmed by anger, consumed by craving, or gripped by anxiety, we are not simply going to bed. We are reinforcing those very tendencies, deepening their grooves in our consciousness. The mind, in Buddhism, is likened to a field. Whatever seeds we plant, through thoughts, speech, and intention, will eventually bear fruit. And the moments before sleep are especially fertile. In those quiet, transitional minutes, our usual mental defenses soften, and the subconscious becomes more accessible. If we choose to cultivate wholesome states such as calmness, gratitude, mindfulness, or loving kindness before bed, we're not only setting the stage for peaceful rest, we are actively conditioning the mind toward liberation. This is why many Buddhist teachers recommend practices like metta bhavana, loving kindness meditation, chanting, or mindful breathing before sleep. These practices plant beneficial seeds that can influence our dreams, improve the quality of our sleep, and even affect our waking actions the next day. From a karmic perspective, the karma of sleep is not about how long we sleep or whether we dream. It's about the quality of mind we bring into the process. Our mental state while falling asleep contributes to our karmic continuum, just like our thoughts and actions during the day. When we lie down with awareness, when we reflect on gratitude or offer compassion to all beings before closing our eyes, we create subtle yet powerful conditions for spiritual growth. These intentions may seem small, but over time, they accumulate and shape the very trajectory of our consciousness. In this way, a peaceful mind before sleep is like planting seeds in fertile soil. The night becomes a time not just for physical restoration, but for karmic purification and renewal. By resting with mindfulness, we turn sleep into a sacred ritual, one that supports awakening, one breath, one dream, and one night at a time. The practice of metta bhavana, or the cultivation of loving kindness, holds a special place in Buddhist tradition, particularly when integrated into daily rituals such as preparing for sleep. It involves silently repeating phrases of goodwill, such as, "May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings be at peace," with genuine feeling and intention. This practice doesn't require elaborate preparation or special conditions. It simply asks us to turn our hearts toward compassion, starting with ourselves and gradually expanding to include loved ones, strangers, and even those with whom we feel conflict. When done before sleep, metta becomes more than a meditation technique. It becomes a bridge between waking life and the subconscious world of dreams. The Metta Sutta, one of the Buddha's most cherished teachings on loving kindness, extols the many benefits of this practice. Among them, it says that one who cultivates metta sleeps easily, wakes easily, and dreams no evil dreams. These are not just poetic promises. They are observations of how the mind responds to loving intention. When we end our day by radiating goodwill, we soothe emotional agitation, reduce mental tension, and foster a sense of inner security. The heart softens, and the mind rests more naturally. In this state, the karmic currents we carry into sleep are wholesome and light, creating a more harmonious dream experience and a more balanced awakening. The karmic ripples of metta bhavana extend far beyond the night. By cultivating compassion as the final act of the day, we begin to rewire our habitual responses to the world. We wake up with a greater sense of patience, tolerance, and warmth toward others. The mind, having been bathed in kindness overnight, is less likely to react with anger or fear. This is how metta transforms not only our sleep but also our waking life. It infuses our interactions with deeper empathy and gradually dissolves the ego's tendency to divide the world into self and other. In Buddhist psychology, mental habits are seeds of karma. Every thought, every intention shapes who we become. Practicing metta before sleep is a simple yet profound way to plant seeds of loving awareness into the field of the mind. In doing so, we not only rest more peacefully but rise more awake to the sacredness of life, and more ready to meet it with an open heart. Sleep, though often overlooked, offers a profound reflection of one of the most essential truths in Buddhism: impermanence, anicca. Each day, our waking consciousness slowly dissolves into the quiet, dream-filled, or dreamless state of sleep, and then re-emerges the next morning. This natural cycle of rising and falling, of awareness coming and going, mirrors the broader cycles of existence taught in Buddhism. Just as sleep marks the temporary cessation of our active personality, so too does death bring an end to one life, only for consciousness to arise again under the influence of karma. In this way, sleep becomes a daily rehearsal of samsara, the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. This insight can radically shift how we view rest. Rather than seeing sleep as a mere biological reset or an escape from the day's stress, we can approach it as a subtle spiritual experience, one that teaches us about the nature of existence. In the same way that we cannot hold on to the waking self as we drift into sleep, we ultimately cannot cling to anything in this world. The very act of surrendering to sleep, when done with awareness, becomes a practice in letting go, a small taste of non-attachment. Moreover, just as spiritual practice offers liberation from the suffering of samsara, sleep too offers a kind of temporary liberation from the burdens of ordinary life. During restful sleep, the mind can drop its endless grasping, fears, and anxieties, creating space for healing. But the difference lies in how we approach it. If we engage with sleep mindlessly, it remains just a pause. If we bring spiritual intention to it, recognizing its reflection of impermanence and using it to support our path, sleep becomes a transformative tool. When we rest well, the body is replenished, and the mind gains clarity. This clarity is not just for productivity, it becomes the foundation for deeper meditation, insight, vipassana, and mindfulness throughout the day. A fatigued, restless mind struggles to see through illusion, but a mind that has rested well is more likely to recognize the fleeting, conditioned nature of experience. Thus, proper rest becomes an integral part of the Eightfold Path, supporting right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Sleep, in its silent wisdom, reminds us, everything arises and passes away. When we understand this, Even our nightly rest becomes a sacred rhythm, guiding us gently toward awakening. There is a profound karmic dimension to the way we relate to rest and sleep. In the modern world, where productivity is often idolized and exhaustion worn like a badge of honor, many of us push our bodies and minds beyond their limits. Others, in contrast, may retreat into rest as a form of avoidance or indulgence. From the Buddhist perspective, both extremes, overwork and laziness, are rooted in unwholesome mental patterns such as grasping, aversion, and delusion. These habitual tendencies are not only sources of suffering in the present moment, but they also create karmic imprints that shape our future experience. In this way, our relationship with rest becomes a subtle mirror of our inner karma. Burnout and chronic restlessness often arise from inner grasping, the compulsive drive to achieve, to prove oneself, or to escape uncomfortable emotions by staying busy. While society may reward such effort, Buddhism cautions that actions fueled by craving, fear, or ego are karmically unskillful, no matter how outwardly successful they appear. The Buddha taught that actions should arise from wisdom, mindfulness, and compassion, not from compulsion. When we deny ourselves rest in pursuit of ambition, perfection, or recognition, we may be feeding the fire of suffering rather than walking the middle way. On the other end of the spectrum, excessive attachment to comfort and leisure can lead to lethargy, thinamida, a dullness of mind that saps spiritual energy. Rest becomes problematic when it shifts from being a necessary part of well-being to a way of avoiding life's challenges. Sleep, when used as escape, feeds inertia and keeps us bound to patterns of ignorance. This is why Buddhism emphasizes balance. The middle way is not about denial or indulgence, but about wise discernment, knowing when to act and when to rest, guided by awareness rather than impulse. By observing our patterns around rest, we uncover the karmic imprints of deeper psychological forces, our desires, fears, and self-concepts. Do we avoid rest because we fear being unproductive or unloved? Do we cling to it because we fear failure or discomfort? When we begin to investigate these tendencies with curiosity and mindfulness, we reclaim rest as an intentional and wholesome act. In doing so, we purify our karma and create the internal conditions necessary for both physical healing and spiritual insight. Thus, how we rest becomes not just a lifestyle choice, but a sacred opportunity for liberation. The Buddha himself recognized the profound importance of rest as an integral part of spiritual health. After his enlightenment, he did not adopt a life of unrelenting effort and exhaustion. Instead, he often retreated into solitude, balancing periods of deep meditation with necessary rest. This balance is key to understanding the Buddha's approach to spiritual practice. Awakening does not require constant striving or relentless action, but rather a harmonious cycle of effort and rest. In the Mahaparinibbana Sutta, which recounts the Buddha's final days, he repeatedly instructed his attendant, Ananda, to ensure that monks receive adequate rest, both physically and mentally. Even in his last moments, the Buddha emphasized that spiritual progress is not about unceasing activity but about cultivating wisdom and balance in all things. He advised that rest is necessary for both physical recovery and mental clarity, allowing practitioners to continue their spiritual work with renewed energy and focus. This guidance from the Buddha reflects a deeper understanding that spiritual practice is not solely about pushing forward at all costs. It is about knowing when to act and when to rest, when to engage with the world and when to withdraw for reflection and rejuvenation. This wisdom becomes even more relevant when we consider the nature of the mind on the spiritual path. Enlightenment does not blossom in a mind that is strained and overwhelmed by constant effort. It arises in a mind that has learned to recognize the ebb and flow of life, one that knows when to push forward and when to release control. The path to liberation is not linear. It involves moments of intense effort, periods of stillness, and cycles of rest. The Buddha's own life exemplified this balance. While he spent many years meditating with great intensity, he also sought the restorative power of rest in solitude. By integrating rest into the spiritual journey, we embrace the natural rhythm of life. Rest does not impede spiritual growth. It nourishes it. Proper rest allows the mind to shed distractions, rejuvenate, and regain focus, which in turn deepens concentration, insight, and compassion. The path to enlightenment requires a balanced mind, one that knows when to act with urgency and when to surrender to stillness. It is in this equilibrium that true wisdom arises, and in this way, rest becomes a sacred aspect of spiritual awakening. In Zen Buddhism, sleep is not seen as a separate or mundane activity but is fully integrated into the rhythm of monastic life and practice. Zen monks understand that every aspect of life, including sleep, is an opportunity for mindfulness and spiritual growth. The practice of zazen, seated meditation, forms the foundation of Zen practice, but it is balanced with periods of rest to ensure physical and mental well-being. Despite the rigorous demands of Zen training, monks are encouraged to sleep with awareness, rising at specific times and maintaining mindfulness in their posture, even during sleep. Zen emphasizes that every moment is practice, a principle that extends to every action, whether one is meditating, working, or resting. This approach to life transforms even the most ordinary activities into opportunities for enlightenment. In the case of sleep, it is not about sleeping less or denying the body's need for rest, but about sleeping with a deep presence and attentiveness. The Zen practitioner recognizes that sleep is as much a part of their spiritual journey as meditation, eating, or working. The way a monk sleeps reflects their awareness of impermanence, mindfulness, and the interconnectedness of body and mind. Monks in Zen monasteries are encouraged to rise early and sleep at regular intervals, creating a rhythm that supports both rest and spiritual discipline. This structured approach ensures that rest does not become an indulgence or an escape, but remains a mindful act. Even when lying down to sleep, a Zen practitioner strives to maintain a connection to their practice. Whether through observing the breath, maintaining a meditative mindset, or simply being present with the body. Sleep, in this context, becomes a form of devotion, an act that honors the body's need for rest while simultaneously supporting the awakening mind. This integration of mindfulness into sleep reflects Zen's broader teachings on balance and presence. Rest, in this sense, is not seen as a distraction from practice, but as an essential part of it. The body, after all, is the vessel that supports spiritual practice, and without proper rest, it becomes difficult to cultivate the clarity and energy needed for meditation. By embracing rest with presence, Zen practitioners cultivate a deep reverence for their own bodies and minds, recognizing that true devotion lies in the ability to bring mindfulness into all aspects of life. In this way, sleep becomes a sacred act, one that nourishes the body and supports the ongoing path of awakening. The karma of sleep is not limited to individual experiences. It also extends into the collective realm. In our modern society, which is often driven by relentless productivity, consumerism, and the pressure to constantly do more, rest is frequently undervalued or seen as a luxury. Many people, caught in the cycle of work and consumption, find it difficult to rest deeply, either because they feel guilty for taking time off or because they are simply too overwhelmed to slow down. This collective aversion to stillness and rest breeds a pervasive sense of anxiety, disconnection, and burnout. It also fuels societal patterns that harm the environment, as the relentless pursuit of growth and profit leaves little room for reflection or responsible stewardship of the earth. From a Buddhist perspective, choosing to rest deeply and mindfully becomes a radical act of compassion, not only for ourselves but for the world around us. In a society that values productivity above all else, taking time to rest consciously challenges the prevailing norms. By opting to slow down, to truly rest, we disrupt the momentum of craving and ambition that governs much of modern life. In doing so, we send a powerful message. Being is as important as doing. We remind ourselves and others that our value is not determined by our output or our achievements, but by our inherent worth as human beings. This mindful approach to rest can be seen as a form of engaged Buddhism, a practice that seeks to transform suffering, both personal and collective, through direct action. When we rest mindfully, we heal ourselves, and this healing ripples outwards, allowing us to better serve others. Rest becomes a practice of self-care that does not seek to escape the world, but to engage with it more fully. By nurturing our own well-being, we build the foundation necessary to engage with the world compassionately and wisely. In a culture that encourages constant striving, the choice to rest mindfully is an act of resistance to the forces that drive us toward burnout and disconnection. It reminds us that true well-being arises from balance, not overconsumption or endless work. In this way, rest becomes a transformative tool, an essential practice of compassion that heals not only the individual but the collective body of society. When we embrace rest with mindfulness, we contribute to a more peaceful, connected, and compassionate world. Dreams, like sleep, are deeply woven into the karmic fabric of our lives. In Tibetan Buddhism, dreams are not viewed as mere random occurrences or distractions of the mind, but are seen as an integral part of the karmic matrix. They are considered to offer valuable insights into the subconscious, revealing hidden desires, unresolved karma, and even glimpses into other realms of existence. Just as our waking actions are influenced by our past karma, so too are our dreams, a continuation of the karmic process in the unconscious state. One of the most fascinating aspects of Tibetan Buddhist practice is the emphasis on dream yoga, a discipline that seeks to cultivate awareness within the dream state. By developing lucid dreaming or enhancing dream recall, practitioners gain a deeper understanding of the subconscious layers of the mind. Through lucid dreaming, one becomes aware that they are dreaming and can consciously engage with the dream world. This allows them to observe the unfolding of their karma in real time, offering an opportunity for insight, healing, and transformation. In this space, desires, fears, and attachments that normally operate in the background of the mind can be faced directly. Advanced practitioners of Tibetan Buddhism use their dreams as a fertile ground for spiritual practice. In the dream state, they may practice compassion, confront unresolved emotions, solve problems, or even receive teachings from enlightened beings. The dream world becomes a sacred space for learning, purification, and the refinement of the mind. The boundaries between the waking world and the dream world blur, revealing that all experience, whether conscious or unconscious, is part of the same continuous stream of consciousness. This highlights the impermanence and interdependence of all things, whether in waking or sleeping states. Even if one does not actively pursue dream yoga, simply sleeping with wholesome intention can serve as a means of karmic refinement. Approaching sleep with mindfulness, setting intentions for healing, compassion, and clarity before resting, transforms the experience. By doing so, we set the stage for subtle karmic purification in the unconscious mind, planting seeds of wisdom and compassion that will manifest in future dreams and waking moments. Thus, sleep and dreams offer unique opportunities for spiritual growth. They allow us to confront the depths of our own minds, work through unresolved karma, and refine our intentions, ultimately bringing us closer to the realization of our true nature and a more awakened state of being. Rest, as an essential aspect of our spiritual journey, also prepares us for death, the ultimate transition in Buddhist teachings. If we can learn to let go into sleep with grace and mindfulness, we begin to cultivate the mental habits that allow us to let go into death with equanimity. Sleep, in this way, becomes more than just a physical necessity. It becomes a sacred practice that teaches us how to release attachment, surrender to impermanence, and embrace the unknown. By approaching sleep with awareness, we train the mind to be at peace with the process of transition, whether it is from wakefulness to rest or from life to death. Every night, as we drift into sleep, we are rehearsing the final sleep, the moment when we will leave behind the body and the familiar world. The Buddha's teachings emphasize that death is a natural part of the cycle of samsara, and how we approach it is shaped by our habits and our mental conditioning. If we can face sleep with mindfulness, recognizing it as a moment of temporary dissolution, we can begin to practice dying well. This practice may involve reciting Buddhist chants, visualizing the Buddha, or contemplating impermanence before resting. Such rituals not only calm the mind but also remind us of the transient nature of all things, helping us to let go of our attachments and enter a state of peaceful surrender. The karma of these habits is profound, for it influences not just how we sleep but how we live and, ultimately, how we are reborn. In Buddhist cosmology, the mind at the time of death is crucial, as it shapes the circumstances of the next life. If we cultivate a mind that is calm, detached, and full of compassion through our practices during sleep, we are laying the foundation for a peaceful death. This mental clarity and equanimity help us break free from the cycles of craving and suffering that bind us to samsara, leading to a more favorable rebirth or, in some cases, liberation from the cycle entirely. Thus, sleep becomes a practice of spiritual refinement. By approaching it with mindfulness, compassion, and awareness, we not only improve the quality of our rest but also prepare ourselves for the ultimate transition. The way we sleep is a reflection of how we live, and it determines, to a great extent, how we will face death and what will unfold in the lives to come. Ultimately, the karma of sleep lies not in sleep itself, but in the consciousness we bring to it. While sleep is a biological necessity for rejuvenation, it is also an opportunity to cultivate mindfulness, to observe the habits of our mind, and to align our actions with spiritual wisdom. Sleep can be unconscious or conscious, compulsive or sacred, depending on the mental states we carry with us into the night. Buddhism teaches that every action, whether mundane or profound, matters, and that includes how we end our day. How we approach rest is an extension of our spiritual practice, a reflection of the intentions and awareness we bring to all aspects of life. When we sleep with awareness, intention, and compassion, we align our rest with the Dharma. Rather than viewing sleep merely as a means of escaping the demands of the day, we begin to see it as an integral part of our spiritual journey. In these moments of stillness, as the mind settles into the quiet of sleep, we can let go of the mental clutter accumulated throughout the day. By doing so consciously, we create a space for transformation. Sleep, in this context, becomes more than just a time for physical recovery. It becomes a time for spiritual renewal. We use this time to cultivate inner peace, to practice letting go, and to align ourselves with the path of awakening. In the stillness of night, we plant seeds of awakening. Every thought, intention, and mental state we bring to rest has karmic consequences, shaping the quality of our sleep and, in turn, influencing our future experiences. Just as the Buddha taught that our actions, words, and thoughts create our karma, so too do the moments before sleep shape our mental and emotional landscape. If we approach sleep with kindness, compassion, and gratitude, we sow the seeds of a peaceful mind. This positive karmic foundation supports our waking life, guiding us towards greater clarity, mindfulness, and compassion. In the act of letting go, we also discover our true nature. Sleep is not a retreat from life, but a return to our innermost self. It is in the surrender of the body and mind that we uncover the stillness and clarity that reside at our core. Rest, then, becomes not just a physical pause but a spiritual practice, an opportunity to reconnect with our essence. By sleeping with awareness, we transcend the boundaries of the day's busyness and align ourselves with the deep, transformative currents of the Dharma. In this way, rest becomes an essential aspect of awakening, a daily return to the peace and wisdom that lies within. As we conclude this exploration of the profound relationship between sleep, karma, and spiritual practice, remember that rest is not just a pause from life, it's an opportunity for transformation. By bringing mindfulness, intention, and compassion to our rest, we align ourselves more deeply with the path of awakening. If you found this perspective meaningful, don't forget to subscribe to Daily Buddhism Wisdom for more insightful teachings, reflections, and practical tools to cultivate peace in every moment. Whether you're seeking to deepen your understanding of karma, mindfulness, or the nature of suffering and liberation, we're here to guide you. Join our growing Sangha and take your next mindful step towards inner peace today. Tap the subscribe button, and let's continue this journey together.